We connected dozens of MCP servers to Claude and tested every single one out on real SEO workflows. Turns out that most of them are either not worth the setup or are a complete nightmare to connect to if you don't speak technicalese. However, the ones that did make the cut get really interesting when you start chaining them together. Plus, there are some that take a bit longer to set up, but the payoff is still worth it. Now, let me walk you through which MCPs actually earn their spot on our list and why, what they can do, how to connect them, what they cost, and the use case that sold us on each one. Let's start with an MCP that requires the most effort to set up, but is still worth it. GA4. Every SEO has a GA4 tab open. Traffic, conversions, user behavior, revenue. It's the source of truth for what's actually happening on your site. The problem is that GA4 is notoriously hard to navigate. Building custom reports takes time, and half the insights you want are 2 or 3 filter clicks away. Luckily, Google released an official MCP server for Google Analytics. It connects your GA4 property directly to Claude, Gemini, or any MCP-compatible AI in a read-only mode, meaning that it can pull data but not change your configuration. The MCP covers account and property info, standard reports with any dimensions and metrics you want, real-time reports, as well as your custom dimensions and metrics. As I mentioned, this is the most complex setup on the list and the biggest friction point in this whole video, but the payoff is well worth it. Unlike other MCPs where you paste a URL and authenticate, Google's official GA4 MCP is a local Python server you run on your machine. Here's what you're doing at a high level. You'll need Python 3.10 or higher installed. Visit their official Python 3.10 release page to download the installation package. Plus, you'll need to install Pipex to run Python apps. There's a link for configuring Pipex on GitHub. Just follow it, open how-to guides, click Install Pipex, copy the command for your operating system, paste it into your terminal, and run it. Next, you'll need a Google Cloud project with the Google Analytics Admin API and Data API enabled. The links are on the GitHub page. Follow them, create your Google Cloud project, and enable both APIs. Then you'll need to create an OAuth client and download the resulting JSON file. Just follow the steps in Google's video where it's all shown step by step on screen. After that, install the gCloud CLI and authenticate with it by following the steps here, and add this server to your Claude desktop config. Sounds like a lot, I know. Realistically, this is about an hour if you've never worked with Google Cloud or Python before. Most of these steps are one-time things though you'll never touch again. Google published a video walkthrough on their YouTube channel. It walks through each step with Gemini, but the setup works the same way for Claude. We'll put everything mentioned in the description alongside Google's video link so you have everything in one place. So, let's chain GA4 with SEO ranking and ask it to find all the traffic coming from AI sources, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, identify which pages are getting the most AI referrals, and then compare how those same pages perform in classic organic search. Basically, an AI traffic versus organic traffic report for your top pages. Just look at what comes back. It breaks down AI traffic by source. It ranks your top pages by AI sessions, then pulls the organic data for those same pages and compares them side by side. Bounce rates, session duration, conversions. Here's the part that's actually interesting. It starts surfacing patterns. Which page types get cited by AI the most? Where AI visitors are more engaged than organic ones? Pages that AI tools are already recommending before they've even ranked well in traditional search. That's the kind of insight you don't get from either tool on its own. To recap, this setup was painful, but for this kind of analysis, GA4's MCP is totally worth it. As for the pricing, GA4 is free. The official MCP server is free. And Google Cloud's API for analytics also provides generous free limits. The only friction here is the setup, but once it's in, you don't touch it again. Speaking of Google Cloud setup, since you've already done the hard part for GA4, the next one is going to feel much easier. BigQuery. Now, the reason BigQuery is on this list is because Google Search Console doesn't have an official MCP connector yet. There are some decent options from third-party providers, but let's stick to the official ways for now. To bring you real search performance data into Claude, BigQuery is the way to go. GSC lets you bulk export everything into it. All your clicks, impressions, positions, queries with no row limits. On top of that, BigQuery has an official connector in Claude. The MCP lets you query all of that using natural language. It can list your data sets, inspect table schemas, run queries, and return results. Now, as for connecting it, you'll need to go to Claude's connectors directory, but it requires a few extra steps. First, make sure the BigQuery API is enabled in your Google Cloud project. Go to APIs and Services, Library, search for BigQuery API, and enable it. Then create an OAuth client in the credentials section. Set the type to web application, add Claude's callback URL as the redirect URI, and copy the client ID and secret it gives you. Paste those into Claude's connector dialog, click Continue, approve access in the browser, and you're in. If you already set up GA4, you've been through most of this before. The Google Cloud docs walk you through this step by step. We'll link them in the description. Okay, let's test it. I'm going to chain it with SEO ranking and do something you can do in either tool alone. I'll ask BigQuery to find my top 20 URLs with the highest impressions but lowest CTR over the last 7 days, including average position and which SERP features are appearing. Then I'll ask SEO ranking to pull current keyword rankings for those same URLs. Finally, I'll combine both datasets and diagnose why the CTR is low for each page. Let's take a look at what's coming back. It's pulling millions of impressions, finding pages with tons of visibility, but almost no clicks. For example, here, it's flagging pages ranking for queries they'll never win because the intent doesn't match. Here it caught 3 URLs eating each other's rankings on the same keyword cluster, and it's instructing us to consolidate them with 301s. And this one's basically saying your only shot is schema and snippet optimization. Looks like an actual diagnosis with fixes prioritized by impact. I mean, I wasn't sure BigQuery belonged on this list when we started, but after seeing this, I can confidently say that it earned its spot. The good news is that BigQuery has a generous free tier which offers 1 terabyte of queries per month and 10 gigabytes of storage. Most small to mid-sized sites never exceed that. New Google Cloud accounts get $300 in free credits. The MCP itself is free. The next one on our list is SEO Ranking's MCP server that has 160 tools. You heard that correctly, 160 tools. They include keyword research, domain analysis, backlink data, website audits, AI search visibility, and even project management where you can actually manage your rank tracking projects, add keywords, compare your AI visibility, run audits, and create detailed content briefs, all from inside the chat. Setup is honestly one of the easiest on this list. If you're using Claude, which is what we're using for this video, go to Settings, Customize, click the plus icon, add a custom connector, and paste this URL. Then hit Connect. It opens up SEO Ranking's login. You do the authorization, and you're done. By the way, this works across Claude Web, Claude Desktop, and Claude Code. We actually did a full deep dive on Claude Code for SEO. The link's in the top right corner if you missed it. Plus it includes Cursor, Windsurf, Gemini CLI, basically anything that supports MCP. Now let's see what it can do. I'm going to ask it to find all the keywords a site has lost or declined in the past month, identify its top 2 organic competitors based on shared keywords, then compare them and find 30 high-volume keywords the competitors rank for that this site doesn't. That's actually 4 separate workflows in one prompt. Lost keyword analysis, competitor identification, keyword gap analysis, and a synthesized report. And SEO Ranking's UI, that's easily 20-30 minutes of clicking, exporting, and cross-referencing. Here, it comes back in one conversation. It shows you what dropped, flags when multiple pages for the same product are declining at once. Then it finds the top competitors, compares the keyword overlap, and gives you 30 gaps sorted by volume with difficulty and intent. Basically, here's what you lost, here's who's winning instead, And here's where to focus next. Seems like it handled this task well. Definitely one of the more useful MCPs on this list. Incidentally, if you're not sure what to ask, we have a growing library of ready-made SEO prompts. I'll put them in the link in the description. Alright, now let's definitely talk about the cost. The good news is that you can test this with a free 14-day trial that comes with 100,000 API credits. If you're on SEO Rankings growth plan, you get MCP access with 100,000 credits included. The standalone API starts at $149 per month if you just want the data without the platform. But honestly, the trial gives you more than enough to see if this fits your workflow. By the way, there's a pricing calculator in the Help Center that enables you to estimate your actual credit usage before committing to anything. Check the description for the link. Now let's look at another SEO platform's MCP, this time from Ahrefs. Their MCP server gives you access to 6 of their main datasets: Site Explorer for backlinks and traffic, Keywords Explorer, SERP Overview, Rank Tracker, Site Audit, and Brand Radar for AI search visibility. The trade-off is that it offers fewer tools overall compared to SEO Rankings 160-plus toolkit. Plus, there's no free trial. You need a light plan at $129 a month minimum. In terms of connection, here they have practically the same process as SEO Ranking. In Claude, go to Customize, then Connectors, browse their connector, authorize with your Ahrefs account, and done. It works with Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot Studio, Cursor, Manus, OpenClaw, and others. One thing worth noting is that Ahrefs themselves recommend starting your prompts with using the Ahrefs MCP server because Claude sometimes routes to web search instead of calling the MCP. It doesn't always know which tool to use. Just a heads up so your first try doesn't confuse you. By the way, this sort of rule of thumb applies to all MCPs you're using. Let's give it something harder. I'm going to ask it to find all the domains that link to 3 competitors, but not to this domain, filter by domain rating above 50, and then for the top 20. Then I'll ask it to tell me what type of content earned each link and group them into outreach categories like editorial placements, resource pages, guest posts, and directories. That's a link gap analysis with outreach categorization in one prompt. Doing this in the UI means exporting 3 backlink reports, deduping against yours, filtering by DR, clicking through dozens of referring pages, and sorting by link type by hand. Now, look at what comes back. It flags that Proposify's State of Proposals report is the single biggest link magnet in the whole set, pulling do-follow links from Forbes, Canva, and CoSchedule. That's a strategic signal. It's telling you the content format that earned those links. Then it groups the 20 domains into outreach buckets by priority with specific recommendations for each. Seems it works well overall. But Ahrefs MCP doesn't provide a free option. You need Ahrefs Lite and $129 a month. The MCP consumes API units from your monthly allowance, and rows per request depend on your plan tier. If you're already paying for Ahrefs, turning on the MCP is a no-brainer. If you're not, it's a harder entry point than most others on this list. Alright, next one. This is where it gets a bit different. Firecrawl is not like anything else on this list. It's not an SEO platform. It's a web scraping and research tool that turns any website into clean, structured data your AI can work with. It gives you 14 tools that enable you to scrape a single page, crawl an entire site, map all URLs, search the web, extract structured data using AI, and even an autonomous research agent that browses multiple sites on its own and comes back with a report. For SEOs, this is the tool that lets you pull apart competitor pages, analyze their content structure, extract their metadata, and check their internal linking without ever opening a single browser tab. To connect it, you'll need a free API key. Go to firecrawl.dev, sign up, no credit card needed, and grab your key. Then go to the developer section in Claude Desktop and add this to your config. It works with Claude, Cursor, Windsurf, VS Code, Claude Code, N8N, and more. Now, unlike the previous MCPs on this list, Firecrawl doesn't support the simple paste a URL and connect Flow in Claude yet. You'll need Node.js installed on your machine. Make sure to grab it from nodejs.org if you don't have it. Then open your Claude desktop config and add Firecrawl with your API as an environment variable. To save your time, we'll put the exact config in the description so you can just copy paste it. Here's where it gets fun for SEOs. I'm going to ask it to scrape a competitor's page, extract everything including headings, meta tags, internal links, and CTAs. Then I'll ask it to do the same for our page and tell us what they're doing that we're not. This is one of those pinch me moments because we just did a competitive content teardown without leaving the chat. No view source, no copying into a spreadsheet. It scrapes both pages, structures the data, and gives you a side-by-side analysis. Let's see what it's pulling out. It's flagging that the competitor has 19 CTAs across the funnel, while our page has 7, all high-friction request a demo asks. It's catching that our punchy meta title hook never made it into the H1. Now look at this. It's giving us a prioritized quick wins list at the bottom. Rewrite the H1 to include the 3 times faster claim. Add a C pricing CTA in the hero. Add a self-serve path. Move the ROI calculator above the fold. Looks like a to-do list. Great. That's what you'd normally spot after 20 minutes of staring at 2 tabs. I want to point out that for all these tests, you get 500 free credits to start. That's enough to scrape about 500 pages. Paid plans start at $19 a month for 3,000 credits. Just keep in mind that advanced features like JSON format or enhanced mode add extra credits per page. So check the pricing page before you go wild. Now let's talk Google Workspace, because if you're like most SEOs, your Drive is full of client briefs, content calendars, and reporting templates. Moreover, your sheets are where your keyword maps, redirect lists, and deliverables live. Google Drive has an official connector right inside Claude. It's listed as one of the most popular ones in the directory. You can search across your entire Drive, read files, and upload new ones, all from the chat. Unfortunately, Google Sheets doesn't have an official connector yet. Various community options exist, but they require Google Cloud Service accounts and local server setup. Since these are third-party servers, Anthropic recommends only using connectors from developers you trust. For a technical audience, that's fine either way. But if you're an agency or SMB team, it's more friction than it's worth right now. The good news is that Notion's MCP does a lot of what you use Sheets for, like organizing keyword research, tracking content plans, and managing deliverables, but with a much simpler setup. We'll get to that one shortly. For now, let's focus on what Google Drive's MCP can do for you. This one's as simple as it gets. Just browse the connectors in Claude Desktop and click to connect. Go to Customize, click Connectors, search for Google Drive, hit the plus icon, authenticate with your Google account. That's it. Let's test it. Say you've got a content brief in your Drive, something your team wrote for an upcoming blog post. I'm going to ask Claude to find it, read it, then pull keyword data from its ranking for the main topic and tell us if we're actually targeting the right primary keyword or if there's a better option. All right, the results are in. It was able to find the brief, read the target keywords, pull the data in from its ranking, and point out that our primary keyword is fine, but there's an option with a higher volume at the same difficulty that we listed as secondary. It also caught 2 keywords we missed entirely with the same intent, higher search volume, and lower difficulty. It ended up giving us 2 concrete changes to make. We've just basically validated a content brief against live SEO data without opening a single tab in several minutes. The brief stays in Drive. The keyword data comes from its ranking, and the analysis happens in one conversation. Useful stuff. And once you see how this works, you can scale it to, for example, audit every brief in a client folder at once, or grab a competitor analysis doc and cross-reference it with fresh ranking data, and much more. Google Drive is free, the connector is free, and it works with any Google account. No limits beyond what Drive itself gives you. Okay, now let's talk about Notion MCP. Remember when we said Google Sheets doesn't have an official MCP yet? This is the alternative. But honestly, for a lot of SEO workflows, it might be the better tool anyway, at least until Google releases an official Sheets connector, which, fingers crossed, will be easier to set up than their GA4 one. Notion gives you databases, pages, wikis, project boards, all in one place. For SEOs and agencies, that means keyword trackers, content calendars, publishing pipelines, client dashboards, and more different purpose tables. Furthermore, their MCP lets you read, create, update, and search across all of it from the chat. To connect it, it has the same easy flow as Google Drive. In Claude Desktop, go to Customize, Connectors, search for Notion, click the plus icon, authenticate with your Notion account, grant access to your workspace. Done. One thing to know is that when you connect Notion, it asks you which pages and databases to share with Claude. This gives you the freedom to pick from the exact options Notion itself can see. Let's test it. I've got a content pipeline database in Notion with pages we've published, drafts in progress, and stuff that needs updating. I'm going to ask it to find everything that's either flagged as needs update or hasn't been touched in over 6 months, and then tell me what needs attention based on the notes we've left in the table. It comes back with 6 pages that need attention, 3 flagged as needs update, and 3 more it caught on its own because they haven't been touched in over 6 months. For each one, it pulls the writer, last updated date, and the notes, and then ranks them by urgency. It even offers to update the statuses directly in Notion or draft a brief for any of them. I want to remind you that it took us only 1 prompt. You can use this for pretty much any workflow you have. As long as your data lives in Notion, you can ask for it. Notion's free plan works with MCP. The connector is free, no limits beyond what your Notion plan allows. Now, our final MCP comes from Slack. If you work in a team, it's probably running in the background all day. Client updates, project questions, feedback on content, links to reports, all scattered across channels. The Slack MCP lets you search messages, read channel history, read threads, look up user profiles, and even send messages, all from inside Claude. For SEOs and agencies, this means you can pull context from Slack without leaving your workflow. What did the client say about that landing page? What feedback did the team give on the last audit? Instead of scrolling through channels trying to find it, just ask. In terms of connection, here's the same one-click flow. Click Customize, Connectors, search for Slack, click the plus icon, authenticate with your Slack workspace, done. Now, there's a lot you can do with the Slack MCP, especially if you're an agency managing client communications across multiple channels. But let me show you what I actually use it for. I'm going to ask it to search our product updates channel for the last 2 weeks, find anything about AI search tools, and summarize what's changed. Done. It finds the relevant channel, pulls the recent updates, and gives me a clear summary of what shipped and what's coming. Instead of scrolling through a busy product channel trying to catch what I missed, I get a summary of just the updates that matter to me. Seems to work well, but that's just my example. Your use case will depend on how your team uses Slack. Client channels, project updates, feedback threads, whatever you're digging through on a daily basis, you can just ask for instead. It is free for use with any Slack workspace. The connector itself is also free. There you have it. That's 8 MCPs. Some connect in 30 seconds, some take a bit more work. But once they're in, they can genuinely speed up how you work with multiple data sources and tools day to day. One quick heads up though, when you're pulling data from multiple MCPs in one conversation, you'll burn through Claude's usage limits faster than usual. You might have noticed that in our screen shares. If that happens, just start a new chat for each task. But if you're planning to use these heavily, you'll probably want Claude's Max plan. Pro still works, but you'll feel the limits fast. Links, setup guides, everything we promise to share is in the description. Like and subscribe, and if you want to see how far you can push this, here's a video where we built 3 actual agency tools using SEO Rankings MCP and Claude Code. Make sure to watch it next.